Right, yeah.
Good evening and welcome councillors, executive team and community members to Hepburn Shire Council's Ordinary Council meeting, virtual meeting and on Tuesday 18th of August 2020. And I also like to welcome community members and council staff to tonight's council meeting. My name is Councillor Alicia Kokoczynski and I'm the Mayor of the Hepburn Shire Council. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners. We would like to acknowledge we are meeting on Jara people country, of which members and elders of the Djadja Wurrung community and their forebears have been custodians for many centuries. On this land, the Jara people have performed age-old ceremonies of celebration, initiation and renewal. We acknowledge their living culture and their unique role in the life of this region. I move on to a statement of commitment, and I'll take this opportunity to read out the council statement of commitment, and I'll read this on behalf of all other councillors. We, the councillors of Hepburn Shire, declare that we will undertake on every occasion to carry out our duties in the best interests of the community, and that our conduct shall maintain the standards of the Code of Good Governance, so that we may faithfully represent and uphold the trust placed in this council by the people of Hepburn Shire. I now must read a rather long preamble to the virtual council meeting. For many months now, council has held its ordinary council meeting virtually as we continue to transact business during the COVID-19 pandemic. Council continues to be guided by the government directives and wants to do the right thing for the health of our community during the COVID-19 pandemic. In the spirit of open, transparent and accountable governance, this ordinary council meeting is being live streamed on council's website, and you will be able to view the proceedings of the meeting, councillor deliberations and voting. The meeting is also being recorded and will be made available on the council website as soon as practicable after the meeting. Pursuant to the ministerial guidelines, should technology problems be encountered by the council, where there is an inability to be able to broadcast this meeting to the public, then the meeting must be adjourned until resolution or postponed. Council's meeting will be conducted tonight in accordance with the Local Government Act 2020, the COVID-19 Omnibus Emergency Measures Act 2020, the Minister's Good Practice Guidelines MGPG-1, virtual meetings, Council's meeting procedure, local law number 1, and the Hepburn Shire Council Councillor Code of Conduct. A priority for council was to continue to allow for the opportunity for our community to engage with council via public participation time. For tonight's meeting, council has received 23 questions and a request to address council. In accordance with section 13 of our meeting procedure, local law, a person, including any representative of the media, must not operate photogenic audio or video recording equipment or any other recording device at any council meeting without first obtaining the consent of the chairperson. At this point, no one has requested that they would like to record this meeting. Permission does need to be sought if someone wants to take that footage and use it or broadcast it. I also remind everyone that local government decision-making, unlike state and federal government, does not afford the benefit of parliamentary privilege, and hence no protection is afforded to councillors and council officers for comments made during meetings which are subsequently challenged in a court of law and determined to be slanderous. Opening of meeting and attendance. As this meeting is being conducted virtually in accordance with the ministerial guidelines, councillors are required to advise individually whether they, 1, they can hear the proceedings and hear their other councillor colleagues, 2, that they can see their councillor colleagues and be seen by others, that they can be heard by their councillor colleagues, We don't usually do a roll call, but what I will do this evening, I will do it this evening. So now I will do a virtual whip around the room and ask all councillors to advise that they are present and whether they can hear and that they can see. I will confirm to each councillor whether they can be heard. Then we will know that all councillors who are meeting virtually tonight will be present. Councillor Cottrell, Deputy Mayor, I will start with you. Councillor Cottrell, can you please state that you are present and whether you can hear and that you can see all of your colleagues?
Madam Mayor, I am present and confirm that I can see all of my colleagues and that I can hear the proceedings.
Thank you, Councillor Cottrell. I can confirm that I can see you and that I can also hear you. Councillor Robson, can you please state that you are present and whether you can hear and that you can see all of your colleagues?
Thank you. I am present and I can see all my colleagues and hear the proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robson. I can confirm that I can see you and that I can also hear you. Councillor Newitt, can you please state that you are present and whether you can hear and that you can see all of your colleagues?
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor. I can confirm I'm present and I can both see and hear my councillor colleagues.
Thank you, Councillor Newitt. I can confirm that I can see you and that I can also hear you. Councillor Henderson, can you please state that you are present and whether you can hear and that you can see all of your colleagues?
Madam Mayor, I can both see and hear all of my colleagues.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. I can confirm that I can see and that I can also hear you. Councillor May, can you please state that you are present and whether you can hear and that you can see all of your colleagues?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I am present and I can both hear and see my councillor colleagues.
Thank you, Councillor May. I can confirm that I can see you and that I can also hear you. Councillor Redwood AM, can you please state that you are present and whether you can hear and that you can also see all of your colleagues?
Madam Mayor, I am present and I can hear and see my councillor colleagues.
Thank you, Councillor Redwood. I can confirm that I can see you and that I can also hear you. I confirm that I can see everyone in attendance, including my councillor colleagues, and hear all of my councillor colleagues. I now move to apologies. Are there any apologies? There are no apologies. There are officers in attendance. I would now like to introduce council officers who are present in this virtual council meeting. Mr. Evan King, Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Bradley Director, Corporate and Community Services, Mr. Bruce Lucas, Director, Infrastructure and Development Services, Mr. Chris White, ICT Manager, Ms. Kristen Fort, Manager, Governance and Risk, Ms. Bronwyn Southey, Manager, Development and Community Safety, and Mr. Nathan Aikman, Coordinator of Planning. I now move to item 5, which is declaration of conflicts of interest. As required at any other meeting of council, councillors must declare a conflict of interest at the start of the meeting and leave the meeting when the item is presented to council. Councillors will be required to leave the meeting and return when the item has been resolved. At any point throughout the meeting, if any other councillor recognises that they have an indirect or direct interest, they can flag that at that point and follow the same procedure. Councillors, I now ask if any councillor has a conflict of interest to declare. If there are any conflicts of interest to declare, may I ask councillors to state which provision of the Act their conflict of interest satisfies and the item on the agenda they have a conflict of interest in. Do any councillors have a conflict of interest? No, there are no, at this stage there are no conflict of interest. Officers that are present, I now ask whether you have a conflict of interest in any item presented before council tonight. Mr. King.
Madam Mayor, I have no conflicts of interest to declare on any items on tonight's agenda.
Mr. Lucas.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. I also can confirm that I do not have a conflict of interest in any items on tonight's agenda.
Mr. Thomas?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also do not have any conflicts of interest for tonight's meeting.
Mr. White?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I do not have any conflicts of interest in any items presented at tonight's council meeting.
Thank you. Ms. Kristen Ford? Ms. Ford?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I'm having some trouble with my video. Oh, apologies. Thank you. I do not have any conflicts of interest in any items presented at council tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Aikman?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also do not have any conflicts of interest regarding any items presented at tonight's council meeting.
And finally, Ms. Brunman Southey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have no conflicts of interest to declare on any items detailed in the agenda in this evening's meeting.
Thank you. Item 6, I move to item 6, which is confirmation of previous meeting minutes. I have a recommendation before us to adopt meeting minutes from Council's previous ordinary meeting. The recommendation is that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of Council held on 21 July 2020, as previously circulated to councillors, be confirmed. And I am in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and seconder?
I move, Madam Mayor.
Happy to second.
Councillor Redwood seconded.
Councillor
Councillor Henderson. Is there any discussion on the minutes on this motion? Okay, I will now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand so that I'm able to see your hand. There being no opposition, I declare it carried. Notices of motion. I notice that there are no notices of motion for tonight's meeting. Items of urgent business. Are there any items of urgent business? No, there do not appear to be any items of urgent business. I now move to presentation of councillor reports. Now, that is item 9. I usually present a report, but I do not have a report this month. So I now move to councillor reports. Councillor Robson, Birch Ward.
We'll table my report tonight. Thank you.
Councillor Cottrell, Holcombe Ward.
I will table any report, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Newitt, Cameron Ward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No report to table tonight.
Councillor Redwood AM, Birch Ward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No report.
Councillor Don Henderson, Creswick Ward.
No report this meeting, Madam Mayor.
Councillor May, Creswick Ward.
And Madam Mayor, I have no report this month either.
Thank you. I have a recommendation that Council receives and notes the Mayor's and Councillors' report. Do I have a mover and seconder, please? Move, Councillor May, seconder, please. Councillor Newitt. Any discussion? Okay, I will now put the motion that the council receives and notes the Mayor's and Councillors' reports. All in favour, please raise your hand so I am able to see it. There being no opposition, all in favour, I declare it carried. Chief Executive Officer's report. Mr. King.
Through you, Madam Mayor, my report has been distributed to councillors and my report will form part of the minutes for the council meeting. I'll take it as being read. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, you appear to be muted. You can unmute. Beautiful.
Okay, I'm now unmuted. Okay, I have a recommendation that Council receives the Chief Executive Officer's report for August 2020. I am in search of a motion. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Cottrell, a seconder, please. Councillor Redwood. Any discussion, any debate on this motion? There being no debate, I now put the motion. All in favour, please raise your hand so I'm able to see it clearly. Thank you. There are 7 in favour and no opposition. I declare it carried. Public participation time, it is item 10. we now move to petitions. There have been no petitions received this month in accordance with local law number 1. We now move to questions, and I will read out, as has been the practice since we've gone virtual. I will read out the responses to questions taken on. There are questions taken on notice from the last ordinary meeting, and then hear and respond to new questions received in accordance with local law number 1. Questions 1 and 2 were submitted for the 21 July 2020 ordinary meeting of council. Due to administrative error, the subject of the question was incorrectly recorded, so both questions will be reread in full. So the first question is, question 1 was from Ms. Noella Sweeney regarding waste breaches at Glen Lyon Reserve. Glen Lyon residents have photographed and cleaned up shotgun wads and clay target waste left by the Dalesford Field and Game Club at the Glen Lyon Reserve over the period of 2016 to 2019. This failure of the club to remove its waste is a breach of their licence conditions granted by the Hepburn Shire Council under Crown Land Reserves Act 1978, Section 17, bracket 2, clause 2.5. This failure is also a breach of Special Condition 16.7, added by the council, in that for the enjoyment of other users of the reserve, all waste and debris is to be removed from the site after use. This same waste deposit is also a breach of the Environment Protection Act 1970 regarding littering on public land and is subject to penalties. The question is, during 2016 to July 2019, did the Hepburn Shire Council issue any request, warning or default notice to the Dalesford Field and Game Club regarding these breaches? And my response as the Mayor, no breaches have been issued. Question 2 from Ms. Noella Sweeney. The Hepburn Shire Council renewed the Dalesford Field and Game Club's licence in July 2019. When did the club remedy these waste breaches? And my response, no breaches have been issued. Now I move to public questions received for tonight's meeting. We have received 9 separate questions in relation to the land contamination at Glen Lyon Recreation Reserve, with questions from the following people: Simon Hill, Elizabeth Swan, Marion Oakey, Sarah Micklewright, Robert Whaley, Kay Powell and Samantha McKean. I acknowledge all the questions received. Rather than reading each question, some of which are lengthy, and responding individually, I would like to make a general statement in relation to those questions, which will provide answers to the themes of the questions. We will also provide a response to each question in writing as part of our normal process. I was pleased to hear that the community briefing on Saturday, 8 August, was well attended by Glen Lyon residents and reserve users. It is a much loved reserve with a strong history of events and activities. As discussed at that briefing, Council contracted qualified and experienced consultants to complete a preliminary soil assessment and an environment site assessment to determine the extent of land contamination at the reserve. The preliminary assessment used handheld technology and some soil sampling to conclude that levels of lead from gunshot and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, or PAH, from clay targets were above national health guidelines. The more detailed environmental site assessment confirmed that lead levels at the reserve were reported below the National Environmental Protection Measures, or NEPM, health investigation level applicable for recreation areas, but that levels of PAH, or polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, were found above NEPM levels in the same area. The assessment was undertaken by qualified and experienced consultants following the NEPM process in accordance with EPA requirements. Both assessment reports were considered by Council and are available on Council's website. Any risk to public health and the environment is currently being managed by precautionary measures on site, including fencing and signage. Any remediation required on site to remove contamination that presents a risk to public health and the environment will be undertaken at the advice of the EPA and suitably qualified consultants as part of a clean-up plan for the site. As you will be aware, shooting activities at the reserve were suspended in late 2019. The resumption of shooting events at the reserve has not yet been determined. Any future proposal for shooting activities to return to the site will be required to be in accordance with EPA guidelines and will require approval from Council and Delwood. It is safe to visit the reserve, for example, to walk your dog, with precautionary measures in place. If you are within the fenced off area, stay on heavily grassed areas. Do not ingest soil. Remove dust and soil from pets and clothing. Remove shoes when entering homes and wash hands following your visit. Please refer to signage on the site. I can confirm that no breaches have been issued to Daylesford Field and Game in relation to littering following shooting events. The costs incurred to date have been for investigation and have been funded by Council, as there was no evidence to substantiate the source of the contamination. Council is aware and acknowledges the content of licence with the Gun Club, which refers to negligence and breach of statutory duty. Council will consider this clause at the time of considering any clean-up costs that may be incurred. We are committed to continuing to work through the contamination issue and optimising the use of public parks and reserves for our communities. As we work with our community user groups, DELWP and the EPA, we want to reassure our community that we will keep you informed in an open and transparent way. Again, we will provide a formal written response to each of the specific questions received. I move now to question 12, these are more public questions. Question 12 is from Ms. Gina Lyons. She asks, I note that the council update on this project, the Hepburn Hub that is, a planning permit amendment will now be required to accommodate the recent minor changes in the design. Please outline the steps in the planning permit amendment process, including timeframes for each step and an estimated date of completion. My response, due to the design changes made to the proposed development of the hub, a planning permit amendment is required. This amendment application is being prepared and will be submitted for consideration by the Planning Authority, which is Council. The application to amend the permit will be assessed by Council's planning officers. The time between the application and Council's decision is dependent on the nature of the application and governed by various provisions set out in the Planning and Environment Act. It may depend on several factors, such as the requirement to provide further information, the requirement to notify the public of the application or receipt of notification from referral authorities. There may also be provisions for objections through the Victorian Civil Administrative Tribunal, or commonly referred to as VCAT. With the variables referenced above, it is not possible to place a time frame on these steps. However, given the council caretaker period, it is expected that the application may not be determined until the December council meeting following the local government election scheduled for 24 October 2020. Question 13 from Ms. Gina Lyons, again about the hub. Is the planning permit amendment process required to be completed before construction on stage 2 main works Hepburn Hub can begin? My response, the stage 2 main works are required to be in accordance with planning permit requirements. Given the design changes, it is necessary to have the planning permit amendment in place prior to the stage 2 works commencing. The stage 1 works can proceed and are also required to be completed prior to the stage 2 main works commencing. Question 14 from Mr. Rod Sewell. Hepburn Shire is subject to stage 3 COVID-19 restrictions. There are only 4 valid reasons to leave your home. Letter drop is not one of them. Will Hepburn Shire Council be taking action against members of the Glenlyon Progress Association supported lobby group seeking the removal of the gun club from the Glenlyon Recreational Reserve and reporting this to the relevant authorities, given A, their illegal actions in participating in a letter drop around the Glenlyon Township over the past weekend is an outrageous breach of stage 3 conditions, and B, the potential for COVID-19 infected persons participating in the preparation and distribution of letters for the drop to spread infection across our community. My response: Council continues to promote being COVID safe and following the stage 3 lockdown restrictions as imposed by the State of Victoria. Council is not authorised or empowered to undertake any enforcement activities under these restrictions, and the matter should be referred to the Victoria Police by the questioner. Question 15 from Mr. Rod Sewell. The recent August edition of the Glenlyon Progress Association financed the Glenlyon District News continues its entrenched council bashing and misinformation, and under the anonymous fake news suggests to the community that much of a proposed $1 million capital works budget for the Glenlyon Recreational Reserve is simply wishful thinking. Will Council confirm that it has an allocated forward budget item of $1 million for work at the Glenlyon Recreational Reserve and outline how such a project is to be funded? My response is $121,000 has been included in the 2020/2021 annual budget to complete the detailed design for the pavilion at the Glenlyon Recreation Reserve. This will allow Council to proceed to request for tender. Construction of the facility will be subject to securing grant funding to co-fund with Council. Future allocations will be subject to Council budgets, with current estimates of the budget cost estimated at $980,000. Question 16 from Ms. Marion Oakey. Why does Council not provide an alternative platform for accessing virtual meetings for those not on Facebook? My response: Facebook is a stable, accessible medium which is widely available via smartphone, tablet and PC. It is being used by a number of Victorian councils to live stream meetings under COVID-19 restrictions. You do not need to have a Facebook account to watch the live stream of the virtual meeting. Question 17 from Ms. Dallas Kinnear. Could Council defer any decision on the shed at 151 Lake Road, Dalesford, until the question of the future of the present ill-sited cafe, which was built without any permit or public consultation and which blocks the beautiful view down to the lake, is resolved, thus leaving open the possibility that in future a new and attractive cafe could instead be placed on the old maintenance shed site at the entrance. My response: it is important to recognise that the Planning and Environment Act requires that these two matters are considered independently. Accordingly, Council will consider the appropriateness of an application for a planning permit for a shed at 151 Lake Road, Dalesford later in the agenda of tonight's Council meeting. With respect to the compliance issue of the cafe, Council's Building Inspector and Planning Officers continue to investigate the compliance concerns raised. We will obtain an update from Council Development Services team on the status of this compliance matter and provide a detailed response to you. Another question from Ms. Dallas Kinnear on the same topic. Or to shorten the application process, instead of deferring, would Council agree tonight to the shed being resited up on the caravan lease area instead, so that this prominent site at the entrance to one of Dalesford's 4 prime tourist attractions can be retained and later used to enhance both the co-op's business bottom line and to boost the town and the Shire's tourism economy. My response is, Council will consider the appropriateness of an application for a planning permit for a shed at 151 Lake Road, Daylesford at tonight's council meeting. Question 19 from Mr. Basil Eliades on the same matter. Everything is context. We request that council defer this shed application so that councillors can see for themselves where the shed is proposed to be sited, and council, the co-op and the Friends of Jubilee Lake can discuss the issue of the cafe, the film shed, the metal cage on the foreshore and the commercial signage. These outstanding issues need to be resolved first to keep all options open for the future use of this site. Isn't that a reasonable path forward? My response: it is important to recognise that the Planning and Environment Act requires that these two matters be considered independently. Council is separately reviewing entrance signage and the concern relating to the cafe structure following previous discussions between community representatives and council officers. Council will consider the appropriateness of an application for a planning permit for a shed at 151 Lake Road, Daylesford at tonight's council meeting. I have another question from Mr. Eliades, question 20, again on the same topic. Maintenance sheds at other Shire reserves are not placed at the entrance to these reserves where they are highly visible to visitors. They are sited in the maintenance areas and hidden well away from where visitors can be seen. Planting to screen it is not a satisfactory solution. It would not be allowed at Lake Daylesford. Why then is this huge, ugly commercial shed being sited right at the entrance to the much-loved Jubilee Lake Reserve instead of on the caravan park lease area well out of sight of visitors to the reserve? My response is, Council will consider the appropriateness of an application for a planning permit for a shed at 151 Lake Road, Daylesford at tonight's council meeting. Question 21 from Ms. Kathy Walker. Recent times have proven disruptive in many ways. The ability to access affordable, nutritious food being one of them. What policies does Council have to address food security in the region for residents and for the local primary producers? My response on behalf of Council: Council does not have a specific policy in relation to food security. However, included as part of a number of projects undertaken by Council, food security is referred to. Council is undertaking a number of sustainability programs and projects, implementing actions from Council's Economic Development Strategy and the Hub for Premium Produce, which is a 3-year program focused on connecting and actively working with the premium produce enterprises in the Hepburn Shire and surrounding region to navigate processes, unlock opportunities and build the ongoing capacity and skills of the sector to collectively grow and thrive. I have questions 22 and 23 from Ms. Sweeney. From Ms. Noella Sweeney. I have determined that these do not meet the requirements of Local Law 1. Council officers will work with Ms. Sweeney to reframe the question for a future council meeting. I now move to a request to address council. Ms. Tessa Halliday wishes to address council regarding the process for community consultation for Local Law number 2. I now would like Ms. Halliday to be ushered in, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Tessa has now joined the call.
Would you like to would you like to address? Would you like to unmute Ms. Halliday and proceed? And we look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening. My name's Tessa Halliday and I live in Clunes in the Cameron Ward. I'm here tonight to talk about the local law reference groups. I would like to request that the current application process for the local law to reference group is scrapped and replaced with a simple inclusive system. The current process is not acceptable. Without making the process accessible across a broad range of people's needs and capabilities, you cannot claim community consultation. Firstly, the notification method and time frame was not sufficient. The Facebook page and Shire website are not accessible to all ratepayers. Furthermore, the information cannot easily be found on the Shire website and there is no link from the local laws page. The only satisfactory way to reach all ratepayers is by post. An information leaflet should be prepared and posted to all ratepayers with the information on how to get involved. Secondly, the current application process is inaccessible to most ratepayers for various reasons, and it's discriminatory to have such a difficult application process. The council cannot claim inclusive community consultation if they are requiring us to apply to be part of the groups with unknown KPIs and unknown selection committee. The whole idea of limiting the group members by some sort of job interview is exclusionary. How are we getting a true cross-section of the community if we do this? I would like to see this application form scrapped and replaced with people being able to ring and register their interest. All they should need to do is provide their name, phone number, and the group they wish to join. The limitation on group numbers should also be removed, as once again it seeks to exclude. Everyone who wishes to be involved should be able to, and we should be encouraging that. It's about time this was taken seriously. I'd like to remind you all of the consultation process in 2019 for the planning scheme review. The first consultation process wasn't planned out well, a fact which has been glossed over. Only a handful of people in Clunes knew that it was happening, and when I asked for it to be adequately advertised and rescheduled, I was ignored. I copied in all of you to 2 emails on the 10th of October 2019 requesting as much with Alison Blackett, and didn't receive a response from any of you councillors. So this is not a new thing. So I hope you guys will take this constructive criticism on board and make these changes to improve the communication with ratepayers and ensure that community consultation is inclusive of all. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms Halliday. We appreciate the time and effort that you've gone in your presentation. I now move to item 11, which is statutory planning reports. I understand that you will now be ushered out of the room. Thank you. I now move to item 11, which is statutory planning reports. Now, the first item is 11.1, which is the Trentham planning application 2682, which is a 2-lot subdivision at 7 Gunya Drive, Trentham. Mr. Nathan Ackman, Planning Coordinator, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So as you identified, the purpose of the report is for Council to be provided with an assessment of the application for the 2-lot subdivision at 7 Gunya Drive. The site is located within the low density residential zone and is also affected by the environmental significance overlay Schedule 1. The site is 1.6 hectares in area, and the subdivision seeks to create a lot of approximately 5,000 square metres surrounding an existing dwelling and a balanced lot of 1.1 hectares that will be located behind that lot for the dwelling. The application was notified to surrounding properties and a total of 5 objections were received. The recommendation of council officers is for a notice of decision to issue a planning permit based on the conditions identified within the recommendation on the basis that it's an appropriate subdivision in relation to the site and surrounds. Thank you.
Are there any questions to Mr. Ackman on this planning matter from any councillors? There being no questions, I now move. We have we do not have the applicant represented tonight, but we do have 3 objectors, and they will. And if Mr. White could please usher them into the meeting. And first of all, I name them. There's Miss William and Helen Benson, Stephen Watson and Wal Chandler. And each of the speakers of the objectors are able to present their objections for 3 minutes each. So I will wait for Mr. White to usher them into the room.
Madam Mayor, just joining.
Thank you.
Yes, we have Helen Benson in the call now.
Hello, I am Helen Benson of 5 Gunya Drive, Trentham, here to support our objections to the proposed redevelopment of 7 Gunya Drive. This proposed Battle Axe redevelopment is contrary to both the intent of the original subdivision design concept and the explicit provisions shown on the original endorsed plan, agreements, conditions and covenants, which should not be dispensed with unless compelling justification is established. What has been presented is totally unacceptable. The planning department has acknowledged that the access is undesirable. However, they then failed to put meaningful conditions in place. A 5-metre access point may be acceptable in a dense urban environment, but it is totally out of character in this well-designed subdivision and therefore is not acceptable. The applicant has ample scope to design the Battle Axe redevelopment with a generous, sympathetic design that would enhance the undesirable proposal, not the mean-spirited plan that is before council. It is flawed and does not take into account that there is inadequate space for a generous boundary landscape, culverts, sewer pit pumps, power, water, telecommunications, etc. None of the following have been adequately addressed. Provision of the 100-metre culvert that will be required to prevent driveway stormwater runoff to our property needs to be in place prior to the implementation of the landscape plan. In any heavy rainfall event, the driveway will become a river of water as the land on lot number 1 has been significantly raised because of the original excavation required for the existing house and shed. No consideration or provision has been made for the sewer pits and pumps that will be necessary to pump 100 metres up a significant hill. The landscape plan for the boundary planting must be of adequate size and maintained for at least 2 years. A minimal landscape plan will in no way soften or enhance the Battle Axe proposal. There has to be more space provided to implement all the services required for this redevelopment and proper and fair consideration of our rights. No redevelopment Battle Axe blocks exist in this area of approximately 40 lots currently, and it is false to suggest that they do. You have acknowledged that this area has significant constraints, overlays and sensitivities, but have placed no value on them. Approval of this plan would imply that there is no intent to deliver a balanced and fair plan, but rather continue to support poor quality development by opportunistic developers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Benson. I'd now like to introduce Mr. Stephen Watson to the meeting.
Madam Mayor, Stephen Watson's in the meeting.
Thank you. Would you like to proceed? You have, as is our practice, we have each objector is able to present for 3 minutes each. Please proceed.
Yeah, I can see Stephen's audio still connecting.
Introduce Mr. Stephen.
Yeah, Stephen.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Watson. You probably didn't hear what I said before, but welcome to tonight's meeting.
Stephen Watson's in the meeting. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. You are welcome to our meeting. As is practice, we have each objector is able to present 3 minutes to make your presentation, please. Please proceed.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, councillors. Stephen Watson, I speak on behalf of the application. I am in fact the applicant. So as we've as we've already seen, council.
Could I apologise, because I had you down as an objector, so I do apologise.
That's fine. We'll press on.
Thank you.
Okay, the subject proposal is to subdivide our existing lot at number 7 Gunya Drive into 2 residential lots. Now, the council's planning officer has already covered objections in greater detail, but I'm providing a supporting view. There were several threads in the written objections presented to council. First up, we've heard about the battle axe block. Most objections were concerned with the precedent to be set by the introduction of battle axe block into the Gunya Bend area. The objections claimed that this configuration is new and inconsistent with the established form of the subdivision in the area. There are in fact 2 blocks with this configuration in Rock Court, which have existed in their current form since the original subdivision nearly 20 years ago. As 13 and 14 Rock Court have successfully blended into the area without anyone seeming to notice their distinct configuration, it would appear that this arrangement doesn't create the problem that objections envisaged. The subdivision plan recently approved at 30 Victoria Street, which adjoins the western boundary of proposed Lot 2, also has a proposed lot of this type. Stormwater. Several objections were concerned with the provision for stormwater and runoff. Both proposed lots have adequately defined existing easements for this very purpose. The submitted plan of subdivision clearly shows that stormwater from both lots can be directed to predefined and approved discharge points, which already exist and are located on both proposed lots. There is ample provision in the current submission to show that stormwater from both lots can be compliant with no detrimental effect to either adjoining or downstream properties. Open space and views. Most dwellings on the western side of Gunya Drive have over time been built on high ground to maximise the borrowed views available toward the railway reserve to the northwest. Planning and building rules have never restricted construction to high ground, and it has never been a requirement or even a design intent to build where most dwellings are now placed. A significant part of the borrowed open space enjoyed by these homes exists because there has been no development of Lot 2. Lot 2, once created at 1.1 hectares, would still be the second largest allotment in the Gunya Bend area. Any building envelope proposed on Lot 2 would be at least 50 metres from the closest dwelling, which would be the existing dwelling on Lot 1. Most dwellings in the Gunya Bend area have a separation of 40 metres or less from neighbouring homes. Both proposed lots would be larger than most other allotments, which would still allow them to significantly contribute to the open space in the area. Lot 2 would continue to contribute more open space enjoyed in the area than any other property, with the exception of 5 Gunya Drive. Retention of vegetation and removal of boundary trees. Proposed Lot 2, as the submission shows, is over 8,000 square metres of pasture grass with 20 small non-native trees at the western end. It's effectively an empty paddock. There is no significant vegetation to consider. There is no faunal habitat to conserve. The eastern end of Lot 2, the drive access, will require the consideration of an established street tree. Now, while this tree is clear of the proposed access to Lot 2, care will need to be taken when moving and installing services. Protection of this tree can and will be made a priority for the subdivision to progress.
Excuse me, Mr. Watson, could you wind up, please?
We're done. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Do any councillors have any questions for Mr. Watson? Look, first of all, could I apologise for putting you in under the heading of objector? It was clearly an error and I do apologise. But thank you very much for your presentation tonight. Thank you, and you will now be ushered out. I now move to Mr. Wal Chandler.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, Wal Chandler is joining the call. Give him a second for his audio to connect.
Hello, yes. Yeah, just
Hello,
signing on.
Good evening, Mr. Chandler. Thank you for joining the meeting tonight. I understand that you're one of the objectors to the planning application 2682 in Trentham. So as I said to all other participants, each objector or proponent is allocated 3 minutes. So would you like to proceed, please?
Yes, I would. And in summary, we believe the application fails to meet the strategic policies of the Hepburn Planning Scheme on a number of levels, as outlined by our objection submitted by Cons Subranakis on the 20th of April. Furthermore, it appears that a without prejudice proposal has been submitted, suggesting relocating the access road to the north boundary of 7 Gunya Drive, the lot in question, to which we object on the following basis. And I refer to clauses 32, 56 and 65 of the Hepburn Planning Scheme, that we believe that under clause 32 is designed to protect the waterways, flora and fauna. The northern boundary route would require destruction of a gully line via which stormwater feeds a dam located midway along the property at 7 Gunya Drive. Stormwater which further flows into a wider catchment area, also requiring destruction of flora and fauna habitat that adds to the local character of the area, improving amenity by attracting diverse wildlife. Under clause 56, the proposal fails to meet the requirement to preserve walkable objectives and drainage lines. It will remove street frontage from 7 Gunya Drive by adding a new entry and exit point approaching on an easement, thus diminishing street appeal and adjacent housing values, creating multiple entry points which potentially raise traffic safety concerns for senior residents who regularly walk the road, as there are no footpaths, and residents at 9 Gunya Drive use the same boundary as access and egress. A new roadway adjacent presents a safety risk for one of the residents with a disability. Moreover, it fails to meet noise and light pollution, thereby reducing amenity, privacy and value. The likely building location will require vehicles to diagonally transverse from the south boundary to the north boundary to avoid the dam. This is directly in line with our living areas and located at 9 Gunya Drive. Under clause 65, lastly, the alternate road proposal ignores the relationship to the established road which sits behind the main residence at 7 Gunya Drive. This provides clear and existing access for both the current and potential subdivision. Without prejudice, we would support a revised application as follows. Ensure that further subdivision is prohibited through a section 173 agreement or comparable mechanism. Through retention of the proposed access road being on the south boundary of 7 Gunya Drive, ensuring protection of our safety, privacy, property value and amenity, and show siting of a building envelope that provides for low-scale development, 1 story, substantial space for planting of canopy trees and screen planting. To go unchecked, approval of application PA 2682 and or access road relocation would grossly disadvantage the property owners at number 9.
Could you wrap up, please?
That's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your contribution tonight, Mr. Chandler, and you will be shown out of the virtual meeting. Thank you. Now, councillors, I have a recommendation before us, and the officer's recommendation, and I will read it, that council, having caused notice of the planning application under section 52 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987, and having considered all the matters required under section 60 of the Act, decides to issue a notice of decision to grant a planning permit PA 2682 for a 2-lot subdivision in respect of the land known as 7 Gunya Drive, Trentham, subject to the following conditions. The conditions are detailed in full on pages 11 to 14 on the public agenda. I am in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and seconder, please? Do I have a move, Councillor Cottrell? Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor May. Now, do I have, do you wish to speak to this, Councillor Cottrell?
No, Madam Mayor.
Councillor May, do you wish to speak?
No, I don't, Madam Mayor.
Is there any opposition to this motion? No, there being no opposition. Any discussion on this motion? Any debate, any discussion on this motion? I will therefore put the motion as recommended by, as moved by Councillor Cottrell and seconded by Councillor May. All in favour, please raise your hand. There being 7 in favour and no opposition, I declare it carried. Thank you. I now move to item 11.2, which is planning application 2692, which is construction of 7 dwellings and a 7-lot subdivision at 39 Jamieson Street, Dalesford. Director of Infrastructure and Development Services would like to introduce Mr. Nathan Ackman, Planning Coordinator, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As you identified, this is an application that proposes 7 dwellings and a 7-lot subdivision at 39 Jamieson Street in Dalesford. The site is zoned general residential and is affected by the Environmental Significance Overlay Schedule 1. The site is approximately 3,166 square metres and is arranged in a T shape. The 7 dwellings that are proposed are each proposed across 2 stories and will contain either 3 or 4 bedrooms and a double car garage. Access is to be provided via a common property driveway from Jamieson Street. The application was notified to surrounding properties and a total of 5 objections were received. Following consideration of the points of objection, the relevant planning policy, including the provisions of Res Code, being in clause 55 and clause 56, the officers deemed the application to be acceptable in response to the design response that is proposed as part of the application. And on that basis, it was recommended that a notice of decision to grant a planning permit subject to the conditions that I identified within the report be made. Thank you.
Are there any questions to Mr. Ackman? Councillor Redwood.
Mr. Ackman, this application largely turns on consideration of neighbourhood character, I think. And I'm wondering if you can talk to us about the compatibility of this proposal in relation to other new development happening in that vicinity.
Thank you, Councillor Redwood. So the application does propose a development which is in some instances slightly more dense than what is proposed as part or is already present within the area. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's not something that is promoted within the zone, and it is also not something that's necessarily at odds with the character of the area. So the character of the area is changing over time as new developments are constructed surrounding the area, including a development slightly to the north of the site. So on the basis of the openness that's provided as part of the application and the ability for meaningful landscaping to be provided, it was considered that the proposed application was appropriate with respect to the neighbourhood character, both existing and emerging character of the area.
Thank you, Mr. Ackman. Now, Councillor May, you had a question?
Yeah, I did,
Councillor
Madam
May?
Mayor. Mr. Ackman, some of the concerns of neighbouring properties in the objections were around overlooking or overseeing, given that these new homes are double storey. Can you explain what provisions are put in place or what permit conditions are put in place to deal with that potential problem?
Thank you, Councillor May. So the provisions in relation to overlooking, it's identified as a standard within clause 55 of the Hepburn Planning Scheme, and it looks at protecting overlooking within a 9-metre radius of any area of a balcony or window, for instance. So where a direct line of sight, and that is taken from either a window or the greatest or furthest extent of a balcony, to ensure that there is a direct line of sight cannot be provided from that area. The development has either located balconies or windows in a location that either overlooking doesn't occur, or where there's a possibility of it occurring. That direct line of sight can be obscured by either a 2-metre high fence surrounding the site or by using obscured windows. So in this instance, the proposed development meets that requirement in relation to overlooking. So it's appropriate with regard to that standard.
Thank you.
Now, are there other questions to Mr. Aikman? Councillor Robson.
Thank you. I'm interested in how many other 2-storey houses are around this area that the proposal is for.
There are some, through you, Madam Mayor, thank you. There are some instances of double storey, both currently either approved or sort of existing within the area, but there are a limited number of double storey developments, but that does not necessarily mean that a double storey development can't occur within the area. The neighbourhood character policy within the Hepburn Planning Scheme does identify that where development is proposed, it should not exceed 1 storey greater than what is the predominant number of stories within an area. So therefore, a 2-storey development may be deemed appropriate or is deemed appropriate in response to character reasons, whereas a 3-storey development in an area with a predominant 1-storey character isn't necessarily an appropriate design response.
I understand that at the moment it's predominantly single-storey buildings in the area. Thank you.
Councillor May, do you still have a question? Because I've noticed your hand is still up on the virtual screen.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, I haven't put it down.
Okay. Any other questions from other councillors, please? No. Okay. I have an officer's recommendation, but before, sorry, I've just forgotten. I have the applicant and objectors wishing to address council. First of all, I will ask the applicant, Mr. Neil Hayden, who is appearing on behalf of the applicant, to address council for 3 minutes, please. Mr. White will show Mr. Hayden in. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Hayden was joining and has now disappeared.
I did see him for a split second. We shall wait.
He's just joined again, so I'll just admit him into the meeting again, Madam Mayor.
Just connecting.
Connecting to audio.
Okay. Mr. Hayden, would you like to address the meeting for 3 minutes, please? Because we can just, that's getting better. That's better.
Yeah, that's better. Good evening, Madam Mayor and councillors. Thanks for the opportunity just to have a quick discussion with the council. I represent the permit applicant in relation to this application, and as detailed in the professional officer's report that council are considering, this is an application that based on the assessment of council's officer is highly compliant with the Hepburn planning scheme. Of interest to councillors with respect to this land, it's a large site, it's 3,000 square metres in area. Perhaps unlike some other areas in Daylesford, this site is not subject to any heritage overlays or indeed any neighbourhood character overlays. So it's a general residential zone where development of this kind is essentially called for by the Hepburn planning scheme with respect to providing residential diversity and choice with respect to housing. Perhaps just to address neighbourhood character, I might just read quickly just from a tribunal decision on neighbourhood character, and Councillor Redwood has touched on that. In a decision of the tribunal, it said here, in considering this issue of neighbourhood character, the first point to be made is that the notion of development which is respectful of neighbourhood character does not imply that such development must be the same as what already exists. If policy, the purpose of the zone, and the objectives of clause 55 were calling for development that is more of the same, then the planning scheme would say so. Rather, the notion of respectful development must embrace the need for change and diversity in the type of dwellings that are provided, and an increase in the intensity of development in circumstances where this is encouraged by planning policy and the purpose of the zone. So if this land was in a heritage overlay or a neighbourhood character overlay that was sort of saying, well, we only want single-storey houses here and we must be respectful of the heritage of the area, that's not the case with respect to this application. Those controls don't apply to this particular piece of land. Overlooking is being raised by objectors to the south of the subject land. The development has been designed to strictly comply with Res Code with respect to making sure that there's no overlooking into adjoining properties or yards to the south due to the design use of windows that prevent overlooking, and of course obscure glazing in some instances to prevent the overlooking to the south. Look, other issues raised by objectors are naturally with a development of this kind that there will be an increase in traffic. We say that Jamieson Street is quite a wide street, and the development or the net increase with this development is 6 dwellings that it wouldn't necessarily provide difficulties with the functionality of Jamieson Street and traffic. So, Madam Mayor, I don't need to say too much else other than if councillors have got questions, but we would rely on the officer's report that's before the council this evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hayden. Do councillors have any questions? No. Okay. I now would like to turn. We have 2 objectors here tonight, and I would ask Mr. White to usher Ms. Ruth Bray into the meeting, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Ruth Bray has joined the call.
All right.
Welcome, Ms. Bray. Welcome to the meeting, and you, as all objectors and participants, we allocate 3 minutes per person. So would you like to start?
Yes, Madam Chair, councillors. We live at number 37A, which is to the south of the proposed development. We ask council to consider the number of subdivisions, the height and size, and the nature of any tree planting. 2 years ago at Glen Lyon, your council rejected an application for 6 subdivisions and reduced it to 5. The objections that were present then are still present now. This application is now for 7 lot subdivisions in order to build 7 2-storey, 4-bedroomed homes, which appear on the plan to be identical brick with 2-car garages and limited space for any vegetation. There are a handful of 2-storied homes in the area, and they are set in gardens. The proposed development, I believe, is out of sync with the neighbourhood character, which is unique with individual homes set in gardens and the sustainable practices of organic food going and permaculture. Our home is set on the southern part of the block, our block, with a permaculture food garden and orchard in the northeastern part. This area would be overshadowed by any high development in that area or planting of tall poplar trees. We're particularly concerned with the loss of solar access to our northern solar panels and our windows that provide warmth for our home in winter, and this will give us an economic loss. We now will have wall-to-wall houses from Smith Street with the 2 Smith Street developments through the Lux development and through this one, right through to Jamieson Street, which is particularly noticeable since a row of trees have been removed from the area. These problems also apply to number 37 as well with the overshadowing. We ask that council have 5 subdivisions, not 7. We ask that they be single-storied homes to prevent overshadowing. And we ask that we don't have poplar trees because of their height. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms Bray. Do any councillors have any questions for Ms Bray? No. Okay, thank you very much for your presentation this evening. I will now move to Mr Andrew Marr. I now wait for Mr White to usher him into the meeting.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr Andrew Marr is joining the call.
Thank you, Mr Marr. Welcome to tonight's meeting. And as I have indicated to all the presenters, each objector and applicant is, as is practice, provided with 3 minutes to present their case. So would you like to proceed?
Yes, I do like to proceed. My name is Andrew Marr. I have the residence of 41 Jamieson Street, which is directly north of the proposed site of the buildings. I should have addressed you, Councillor Mayor, first, and all the other mayors. I'm the first time on Zoom, so I'm a little bit nervous. And
it's okay. It's just you and me.
I'm a bit nervous, and so I'll just do my best. I haven't prepared a speech of any sort. Just a few things or concerns that I'm concerned about. First of all, a little bit of background of what's already happened in the block. We've had a lot of earthworks happening. We've had mud, we've had slush poured onto our driveways, and we couldn't get our vehicles in and out. We've had obstacles of piping at the front of our driveways, obstructing our driving into our house. I know this hasn't got very much to do with what actually the proposed is, but there's a build up to what's been happening in the past. Our fences are being cut. We've had excavators and bobcats and even a very large crane in our property lifting stuff over the fence into the neighbouring yard. Moving on from that, well, it's been very, very hard and very difficult to get any common sense, which we like to see happening. Moving on. We don't really agree. The previous speaker, which was Ruth Bray, outlined a lot of very important things, which we totally agree with the double story. Now, I believe a double story, we have a 2-metre fence, a double story premises right close to our property will look directly into our yard, and it'll be on 2 sides. Actually, if it goes along one side around the back, and it'll have a big impact on our own privacy. The purpose of buying the house originally was to us to retire there in years to come, and we have grandchildren, and we would probably maybe put like a picnic area and some swings and sand, and we don't want people sort of looking over the fence into our backyard. Basically, a 2-metre fence is not nearly big enough, but we would probably more agree to have a single-story buildings in that area, not 2-story buildings. There's lighting, there's traffic, there's all sorts of issues, noise, pollution, and all the rest that could come through when you invade in our own privacy type of thing. And we do believe that something like this scale could really devalue our land because of its size and structure. Yeah, well, so we would have our grandchildren. They're talking about, I think there might be more parking issues. There's a lot of traffic. I know the representative said that there could be, the Jamison's a very big street. Well, in actual fact, Jamison isn't a very big street. And if you drive down there, you've got to swerve in and out of traffic to get through because there's parking on both sides. And it's not really a big street at all.
Mr. Marr, could I just interrupt for a minute? Could you just wind up, please?
Okay.
Because we just
I know it's very hard to write a speech, and no, I will wind up. I have not much more to say, but we're very concerned about our privacy, and we would agree to a single story of units and not a double story. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Marr. Do any councillors have any questions to ask Mr. Marr? Thank you very much for this evening's presentation. I hope that was painless. Thank you very much. I know it's
the first time, so thanks very much. Cheers.
Thank you, and you'll be ushered out of the room. Thank you. Now, councillors, I have a recommendation before us, which is the officer's recommendation that council, having caused notice of the planning application under section 52 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987, and having considered all the matters required under section 60 of the Act, decides to issue notice of decision to grant a planning permit PA 2692 for the construction of 7 dwellings and a 7-lot subdivision in respect of the land known as 39 Jamison Street, Dalesford, subject to the following conditions, which are detailed in full on page 21 of the public agenda. I am in search of a motion. Do I have a mover, please? Do I have a mover? No mover. I have a mover, Councillor Cottrell, and seconded, please, Councillor Henderson. Seconded, Councillor Henderson. Just a minute, I'll write that down. Okay, now, is there any opposition to this motion? And okay, first of all, there being opposition. So Councillor Cottrell, would you like to open the debate, please?
No, Madam Mayor.
And Councillor Henderson, do you wish to speak? You're muted, Councillor Henderson.
No, unmute me. All right. Well, through you, Madam Mayor, I know this seems to be a fairly close development, and I've always got some concerns when I see lots going down below 300 square metres, but in this particular area, and I've been around to have a look at this, not recently, but I know the area very well. And what we're asking people to do in our planning scheme is to closer develop those areas that are already developed, rather than going out and encroaching upon farmland and upon areas that have bigger blocks and have a different neighbourhood character. But this neighbourhood character in this particular case lends itself to this sort of development. So on that basis, I support the application, Madam Mayor. I see it does pass all the relevant res code requirements, so I see no reason to oppose it, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Now, any opposition to this motion? Councillor Redwood.
Madam Mayor, I support infill housing, but I believe that this instance is too dense. When we looked at it some time ago, it was for a 5-lot subdivision, not 7. And if it was a 5-lot subdivision, I would support it. But I believe that 7 makes it present a number of issues around, which basically flow from density, around the lot size, the overlooking, the access and egress of cars from the various residents in the development. And as such, I'm not in support of issuing the notice of decision to grant a planning permit, given the 7 now lots. As I was saying, I would be much happier if it was 5.
Are there any other speakers for the motion? Any other speakers against the motion? Councillor Robson.
Yes, I think there's been a lot of development in this area fairly recently and some subdivision. I think it's actually now too much for that area to sustain. I think 7 two-storey houses is not in keeping with that neighbourhood character, and I do not support this application.
Any other speakers for or against this motion? No. Okay, I will therefore put the motion moved by Councillor Cottrell and seconded by Councillor Henderson. All in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. Being 4 in favour, against, and 3 against. I therefore three votes against the motion. I therefore declare it carried. Thank you. I now move to item 11.3, which is planning application 2562, which is development of land for a maintenance shed at 151 Lake Road, Daylesford. Director of Infrastructure and Development Services, Mr. Lucas, and I understand Mr. Aikman will introduce the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So as you identified, this is an application for a construction of a shed at the property at 151 Lake Road in Daylesford. The proposal is to replace an existing dilapidated shed in the same location. The proposed shed is to be 11 metres by 7 metres in size and a maximum height of 2.8 metres. It's located 6 metres from the south of an existing office and kiosk area, and is proposed to be clad in a cream coloured colorbond with a shale grey colorbond roof. The application is deemed to be appropriate in response to the relevant provisions of the application, and it's noted that there were 6 objections to the application. In balance of all relevant provisions and taking into consideration the points of objection, it was the officer recommendation that a notice of decision to issue a planning permit based on the conditions included within the report be recommended. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aikman. We have 2 objectors, I understand. Ms. Dallas, can you...
Madam Mayor, can I ask Mr. Aikman a question?
I do apologise. Councillor Redwood.
Through you, Mr. Aikman, in earlier discussion, the question of cladding arose, and I believe it might be possible to have an alternate recommendation with a form of either weatherboard or similar cladding. Is that recommendation available?
Should council wish to make that recommendation to support an application subject to the inclusion of such a condition, such an alternative recommendation is available and can be distributed.
Could I ask Mr.
Yes, I understand. Is there an alternate? Yeah, an alternate motion has been sent around. Could you read out, Mr. Lucas, could you kindly read that section?
Madam Mayor.
Councillor Henderson.
Madam Mayor, I think we're at the stage of asking questions, and I think any motion would come at the end of that.
Okay.
Answer.
Okay, Councillor Henderson, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. I noticed, Mr. Aikman, that this shed is proposed to be 2.8 metres. Now, usually sheds are either 2.4 or 2.7. So do I take it that this is the top of the ridge, or is it the wall height we're speaking of?
The ridge height, Councillor Henderson.
The ridge height, okay. Yes. Okay, thank you. And is there any outstanding issues on that site? When we're talking about granting permits, and we grant permits to people who want to have a reasonable belief that if a permit were to be granted and conditions imposed, that perhaps the applicant would follow those conditions. Are there any buildings or outstanding things that have been built on this site that would lead me to believe that otherwise, that this may be an issue?
As identified within the questions section, so there are some matters that are continuing to be investigated by Council's Development Services branch to look into if there are any breaches of the Planning and Environment Act or the Hepburn Planning Scheme, as well as the building regulations. So a detailed response is being collated in response to some of those questions that were raised. But yeah, to get that full understanding, hopefully that can be provided shortly.
So just a further question then, Mr. Aikman, if we take it to the worst case scenario for the applicant, and it's found that perhaps the cafe and so on is all non-compliant, and in the event maybe at the end of the day where it's required to be removed, we would have this shed, would we not, sitting in isolation? And that leads me to believe that perhaps it's not in the best position to be a standalone shed in the middle of nowhere. And is it an option to have this somewhere else? It's certainly not before us now, but it may be a consideration about whether I might make up my mind to either grant this or not.
Yes, I guess I'll leave that decision to. Oh, thank you. Sorry, Madam Mayor. I guess that decision will, be to yourself. But as far as a planning application, we have to make a decision based on what's put forward in an application, and not necessarily look at an alternative site necessarily. So, but should a deferral or similar be suggested, and further negotiations with the applicant occur, then that's certainly something, if it's of council's wishes, that officers can look at.
Thank you.
Are there other questions to Mr. Aikman? No, I can't see any hands raised. So I'd like to hear from two objectors, Ms. Dallas Kinnear and Basil Eliades. We'll start with Ms. Dallas Kinnear.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just admitting Dallas to the meeting. Hello, Dallas, are you there?
I am. I don't know if you can see me or hear me.
We can hear you. We can't see you, but that's fine.
Okay, no worries. I can't be bothered turning on the video because I don't know how to do it. I'll start video. Is that what you want me to do?
Yes, please.
I've pressed it. I'm there. Sorry, mates. Hello.
Great.
Do I start? Greetings. Do I start now?
Yes, you know, I think you know better than anybody what the process is. You have 3 minutes for your presentation and we look forward to it.
Can I just greet you all first and then start? Thanks. Greetings, Madam Mayor, councillors, CEO and council officers. My name's Dallas Kinnear of Jubilee Lake Lane, Daylesford. I'd like to speak about the shed at Jubilee Lake. Jubilee Lake was once a magical place. It had the hideaway tree with its branches sweeping the ground and an old school desk underneath, where my little grandkids used to hide from me. Sadly, the lower branches have now been lopped, no doubt making it easier to mow, but destroying this much used secret children's place to play. The lawns used to be watered. They were green in summer and the locals would all sit in the shade, where the film shed now sits, to chat as we watched our kids swimming or playing around the wishing well or in their tree hidey hole. When friends and family came to visit, it was to Jubilee Lake we always would go. It's a much wilder place than Lake Daylesford, a place to enjoy nature and the surrounding bushland walks. Jubilee Lake was once a popular tourism drawcard for families too. On an official council inspection of this area, we were appalled to see that this once magical place has become simply an adjunct to a caravan park, a maintenance and storage area with a tractor, implements and some cars parked there. Council now has the chance to stop this rot and return this once magnificent Shire asset to its former glory. With the removal of the old workshop comes a unique business opportunity. Instead of replacing an old eyesore with a huge new shed, let's put the shed up on the caravan park, well out of sight of visitors, where it belongs. There's no way council would approve a shed like this being placed at the entrance to Lake Daylesford or to any of your famous Primus reserves in Clunes or Creswick or Trentham. So why here? Then let's work out how to use this prominent site for commercial advantage as a business opportunity for both the co-op and the Shire's economy by returning it back to the town's tourism drawcard it once was. Instead of ad hoc piecemeal planning, let's work with the co-op to do just this. The Friends of Jubilee Lake are happy to offer ideas and support, and it wouldn't cost much to restore it, best of all. How about thinking of removing the walls and roof of the current cafe building, which now hides the beautiful view down to the lake on arrival? How about keeping the stumps and flooring as a deck, as an outdoor eating area, and restore the view down to the lake? How about holding spit roasts near this deck on weekends for families of campers and locals? How about reusing the present cafe roof and supports to create a new attractive glass-fronted cafe on this old shed site with a glowing Ned Kelly heater visible from the car park to entice visitors inside? Such a cafe could be used by locals to hold meetings during the week and for lunches with family and friends. If the co-op doesn't want to run a busy cafe, perhaps they could lease it to someone who does. There's potential galore for a family-style cafe sited in this picturesque setting. The Friends have no objection to this shed, just to it being sited where it will downgrade the natural beauty of the reserve and will limit further options. Let's work on using this site to embrace the co-op's business bottom line and to boost the Shire's tourism economy as well. Let's not blow it instead tonight by agreeing to put a big maintenance shed there. Thank you for listening and thanks for all your hard work on our behalf.
Thank you, Ms. Kinnear. Do councillors have any questions to Ms. Kinnear? No questions. Thank you very much for your presentation this evening, Ms. Kinnear. I now ask Mr. Basil Iliades. I hope I've pronounced that correctly.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Basil hasn't joined the meeting and I've tried to contact him with no luck. So.
Okay, so it's one. Okay, so we'll take him off the list. Okay, thank you for that. Now, do I have a motion? I have an officer's recommendation, but do I have a motion? Would you wish me to read the current officer's recommendation? Councillor Redwood, yes.
Madam Mayor, I'm wondering whether councillors might be prepared to contemplate deferring this item, given the matters that have been raised, because I think there are some interesting opportunities here, and I don't know that we've entirely nailed it. And so I would move that we defer this item one cycle.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Robson, I see your hand up. Do you, okay. Is there any opposition to this motion? Okay, Councillor Redwood, would you like to speak?
The procedural motion, I'm happy to put it.
Okay, then I will put the motion. All in favour of the motion as moved by Councillor Redwood, seconded by Councillor Robson, please raise your hand. All in favour? There being 7 in favour and no opposition, I declare it carried. Thank you. I now move to quality community infrastructure. Officers' reports 12.1, sale of land, Old Campbell Town School site. I'd like to ask Director of Infrastructure, Mr. Lucas, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report tonight is for Council to consider the old school site on the corner of Barry Street and Wilkinson Street, Campbelltown. Councillors will be aware that we purchased the property for about $5,000 on behalf of that local community back in about 1989. And there was a committee of management put in place by that local community, and they reimbursed council for the purchase funds to the value of $5,000 in the subsequent years. The local community have now approached council and indicated that the land is no longer needed and have sought council to consider the sale of that land. As such, officers have assessed that, discussed it with the local community, and officers believe that it is surplus to our needs, along with that local community, and believe that the land can now be sold should council deem it to be surplus. Councillors, the process for the sale of land is prescribed within the Local Government Act, and the first step is to declare the land surplus and advertise council's intent to do so and allow for community submissions on that proposal. This report seeks council to declare the land surplus and advertise its intent to sell. There will be further reports based on submissions received and further decisions brought back to council as we move through the process.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Are there any questions of Mr. Lucas from councillors? Councillor Newitt and then Councillor Robson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Lucas, so if we go to the community to seek their feedback on council perhaps selling this block of land, how will, given the difficulties we have around COVID at the moment, how are we intended to seek that feedback from the community, as in advertising it, and how long will the community have to respond?
Thank you, Councillor Newitt, and through you, Madam Mayor. We will go through a Section 223 process under the Local Government Act. So that's the process that's typically engaged or employed for the council budget and other statutory processes. So we would most likely allow 21-day minimum, probably 28 days is the likely scenario. We would advertise it, would allow submissions to be received, then speakers or submitters will be able to speak to council with regards to their submission, and then council will deliberate on those submissions and then ultimately determine what the path forward might be.
Madam Mayor, I had a follow-up question to that, if I could. Mr. Lucas, given that I know this has been a matter that's been on the books probably for about 8 years that I'm aware of, do we have the capacity to, it's not a very big community, have we got the capacity to directly contact some of those groups to absolutely make sure that there is an awareness in the community that this is the procedure, the process?
So again, through Madam Mayor, the short answer is yes, we do. And yes, we have been, and we've been in discussions with representatives from that local community. In fact, it was that local community that actually came to council and sought council to consider this process. It wasn't a council initiated process. It was a community initiated process.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Robertson and then Councillor Henderson.
Thank you. Pretty much my questions have been answered by that, so thank you. But I suppose my question was, because I understand it has been in process and discussions for quite a while, have there been any people that have said that they do think there's another alternative use for this land so far in your communications over the many years?
Through Madam Mayor, the short answer is no. I'm not aware of any objection to the sale of the land. That's not to say that they may not come once council makes its intention known, should council determine that tonight, but I'm not aware of any objection so far.
Councillor Henderson.
My questions have been well answered, and they were the same as Councillor Newitt's, given the small community, Madam Mayor. Be easier to contact everybody, then we could be sure of what Councillor Robson's asking as well. We do the 223 process, but in addition, it's a small community. We have to contact them. If that's the case, well, I've got no further questions about it.
Are there any other questions to Mr. Lucas on this matter? No. I have an officer's recommendation that council is satisfied that the old Campbelltown school site at Lot 6 Barry Road, Campbelltown is no longer required, nor is it necessary or desirable to use the land for municipal purposes. Therefore, it is surplus to council's needs and may be sold. 2, proceeds to advertise its intention to sell the land by a public process in accordance with section 189 of the Local Government Act 1989 and invites community submissions on the proposal. I am in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved, Councillor Henderson. Seconded, Councillor Newitt. Councillor Henderson, do you wish to speak?
Yes, I do, Madam Mayor, and not often we get to speak on something that's not controversial, and I don't believe this is. This discussion's been about the Campbelltown Reserve's been going on since I joined council in 2008. Believe it or not, and there's been perhaps people are getting older out there who've been on the committee of management, and times change, and I think that the intent of the community is to see that this, in some way, value of that land is better utilised by other groups, and so I commend this to it. It's a good example of council working with the community. And being fully informed and consulting them, and it's good that they've shown the initiative to come and say we've left it all this time because we don't want to really upset the people out there. They're pretty remote. They're right on the furthest end of our shire. That doesn't make them any less important. So I commend this to go out for the public consultation. Thank you.
Councillor Newitt, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I echo Councillor Henderson's comments, and particularly around the fact that we are in a challenging environment at the moment, and that we will work hard to make sure that that community is well aware of the intent, and also seek their feedback on what might be the best outcome for their community or for the land in question. So yes, I support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Newitt. Are there any other speakers for or against the motion, please? No, there being no further speakers, I will now put the motion moved by Councillor Henderson, seconded by Councillor Newitt. All in favour, please. Please raise your hand so I can see it. There being 7 votes in favour and no objections, I declare it carried. Thank you. I now move to item 12.2, which is HEPBU.RFT 2020.107, which is for footpath expansion and renewal in Clunes. Mr. Lucas, Director of Infrastructure and Development Services, could you introduce the report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of the report is for Council to consider the awarding of the contract for footpath expansion and renewal works in Clunes for the 2021 program. The initial package of works forms part of Council's footpath renewal and expansion programs, and it also includes the recently endorsed local roads and community infrastructure program as a result of the stimulus funding. The tender for the works was, or tenders were invited, have been evaluated by our evaluation panel in accordance with Council's procurement policy. Councillors, there is a recommendation on page 44 of your papers for the awarding of the said contract to Strebison Proprietary Limited, trading as Ballarat Excavations and Transport, valued at $185,363.25, excluding GST.
Thank you. I'm in search of a motion. Any questions of Mr. Lucas? Councillor Newitt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If we were to move forward with the recommendation and approve this tonight, Mr. Lucas, do we have a timeline from the successful tender as to when that may be completed?
Through you, Madam Mayor, in short, yes, we do. And councillors will be pleased to note that the intended start time is September. So in the next few weeks, I'd anticipate commencement, and their program is a 6-week duration. So, so they'll look to move in quickly, and the works are intended to be completed quickly as well.
Any other questions to Mr. Lucas? No. I'm in search of a motion. I have an officer's recommendation. Excuse me for a minute. That council award contract number HEPBU.RFT 2020.107 for footpath expansion and renewal in Clunes 2020-2021 for the fixed lump sum of $185,363.25, exclusive of GST, to Strebson Proprietary Limited, trading as Ballarat Excavations and Transport. 2, authorise council officers to make variations and additions to the contract in excess of the awarded contract value within the officer delegation and approved budgets. 3, sign and seal the contract documents. 4, resolve that this tender evaluation report remain confidential and that the minutes record the successful tenderer and the accepted tender price. I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved Councillor Newitt, and seconder, please. Councillor Henderson. Now, do you wish to speak, Councillor Newitt?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I'll be brief. As we've all seen, our connections, our footpath connections are much valued, and we're working hard to roll these out across the Shire. Clunes isn't blessed with public transport or taxis, and looking at where this new work will be undertaken will connect the health service, the train station, to social housing. It's all going to be a really good link back into the community, into the main centre of Clunes. I've noticed, particularly since the COVID situation, we're seeing a hell of a lot more people out exercising and walking. So I just think this will be welcomed by the community, as will our other projects along the lines of footpath replacement and asset renewal across the Shire.
Thank you, Councillor Newitt. Councillor Henderson, do you wish to speak?
Yes, I do, Madam Mayor. And I know perhaps we're concentrating on the small items, but small items mean a lot to the community, and $187,000 doesn't seem a lot when you're talking budgets of $30 million. However, when we do things in the community that form the links that Councillor Newitt speaks of, when we can see people being able to walk safely, we're getting an older demographic in our community, and this also is in the area of a school. So young and old will get great benefit out of this, and not to forget the people in the middle who just walk for the fun of it and who get a great deal of exercise, and I think the links that Councillor Newitt mentions are very important, and this project has been able to be brought forward because we as councillors decided when we got the COVID money, stimulus money, to divide it up across the Shire to projects that perhaps wouldn't have got so easily funded. And so I commend my colleagues for doing just that. So everybody will will benefit throughout the Shire of that money. And I know in Creswick where we've extended footpaths, I can remember a time when we used to just patch up what we had and there was no extensions, but I know how much people enjoy having a decent footpath, particularly in our town areas. So I know it doesn't have to be really commended. I know councillors will support this fully, but it's just the fact that it's the small things often that count to make our communities far safer and better and more usable. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Do I have any opposition to the motion? No opposition. Would other councillors wish to speak in favour of the motion? No. Okay, I will therefore put the motion as per the officer's recommendation and moved by Councillor Newitt and seconded by Councillor Henderson. All in favour, please raise your hand so I can see it clearly. There are 7 votes in favour and no votes against. I declare it carried. Thank you very much. I now move to 12.3, which is HEPBU.RFT 2020.81, which is for request for tender for supply of quarry materials, gravel and recycled construction materials. I'm Mr. Lucas, Director of Infrastructure and Development Services, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And once again, it's a contract for a panel of providers, this time for the supply of materials to support council's maintenance and infrastructure works under the 2021 program. The report, as indicated, is seeking council to consider the appointment of a panel of contract providers for the supply of those materials. For clarity, councillors, quarried materials and gravels and the like includes such things as the crushed rock, it's gravel, it includes aggregate for our patching vehicles, granitic sand for various parks and gardens, walking paths and the like, and also includes some recyclable materials such as crushed concrete for such works as well. We called for tenders in accordance with our procurement policy, and 10 submissions were received and they've all been evaluated. And in this case, councillors, officers are recommending to appoint a contract to all 10 submitters or tenderers in this particular case, given the cross-section of location for the source of the product and the varied products that each one of them can provide. By that, I mean that not all can provide all products. So to give us the cross-section of materials and to give us the cross-section of locations to best support our program delivery, all 10 tenderers are recommended for approval, and the officer's recommendation is as such.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Are there any questions, please, to Mr. Lucas? Councillor Redwood.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Lucas, I commend the flexibility of this recommendation, but I'm wondering whether there's also the provision further down the track to include crushed glass as well as crushed concrete.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm not sure whether that can be catered for within this particular contract. It is something that our Environment Waste Services team are looking at. We are collecting and separating out glass product at transfer stations, and we'll look to further undertake those sorts of activities to support that. And where we can, we'll be looking to either source that product for addition into our maintenance activities, or in fact take our own product and crush it and use it into our maintenance activities. Not necessarily covered under this contract, but not discounted in our operation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Councillor Henderson.
So through you, Madam Mayor, to Mr. Lucas, I assume that by letting this tender for the 10 suppliers, that doesn't necessarily preclude the 11th one who might happen to have the product we want that the others don't. So that's really what I think Councillor Redwood was getting to. If we find a need for it and we have the material, this doesn't preclude us from going out and sourcing it, does it?
Absolutely right. And sorry if I've misunderstood the question. It's a non-exclusive tender, so we still have the provision to go out and get quotes or run a separate process for specific projects.
That's good.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Are there other questions on this matter?
Madam Mayor, I move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. And a seconder, please. Councillor Robson. Do you wish to speak on the matter, Councillor Redwood?
Yes, just to say that I believe that the process in examining these potential suppliers has been done very thoroughly, and I totally commend the potential for flexibility given changing needs and connections with other parts of our business.
Thank you. Councillor Robson, do you wish to speak? No. Are there any other speakers for or against this motion? No. Okay, then I will therefore move the motion. All in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. Okay, there being 7 in favour and no against, I declare it carried. Thank you very much. Now move to 12.4, which is a Hepburn Rucks at Hepburn Hub at the REX project update. Director of Infrastructure and Development Services, Mr. Lucas, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And the purpose of this report is to provide a project update for the Hepburn Hub at the REX, as the Mayor has indicated. Councillors, we've committed to providing a project update at each month's council meeting, and this is that for the month of July. The total project scope, the budget and the program remain unchanged from that previously approved by Council. Councillors, there's not a lot to report on specifically this month in terms of change, but I make reference to my comments at last month's where we had indicated that we're out to tender for the primary or the stage 2 works, and I'm pleased to say that those tenders have now closed and officers are working through the evaluation process. In short, other works, other minor works, the stage 1 works, the compliance with the building notice, they continue, and the evaluation of the tender will continue, and we anticipate bringing that to the September council meeting for consideration. I'm happy to take any questions, councillors, and there's a recommendation in the papers that the report be noted.
Thank you. Do I have any questions for Mr. Lucas from councillors? Councillor Henderson.
Yes, Mr. Lucas, and just to refresh my memory, do I recall you saying that we had actually had a fairly good competitive field of builders applying for those tenders, not just as our worst fear was, of course, at one stage that we wouldn't have anybody that wanted to touch it with a pole, as the saying goes. But so that's the case. Is that the case?
Through you, Madam Mayor, just to make sure that probity is not compromised, I won't go into any details, but what I did reference at the previous council meeting was that there was a lot of interest in the tender process, and we had a number of potential tenderers wanting to walk through and familiarise themselves with the facility prior to them lodging a tender.
That's all I want to know.
That's good to hear. And are there other questions to Mr. Lucas? No further questions. Could I have a mover and seconder, please, for the recommendation? Move, Councillor.
Recommendation.
And a seconder, please. Councillor Newitt, thank you very much. Now, Councillor Redwood, do you wish to speak to the motion?
It's profoundly comforting to have these reports coming in month by month, and it's even more comforting to see that things are progressing in a proper and well-managed way. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Newitt, do you wish to speak? Nope, no. And are there other speakers to this motion, please? Anyone wish to speak for or against? Okay, no one. So I will now put the officer's recommendation, moved by Councillor Redwood, seconded by Councillor Newitt, that Council note the Hepburn Hub at the REX Hub project update report. All in favour, please raise your hand. There being 7 votes in favour and no against, I declare it carried. I now move to 12.5, motoring along. 12.5 is minutes of special committees. Section 86 committees, and Mr. Bradley Thomas, Director, Corporate and Community Services to introduce the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We'll continue to motor along. This is an administrative report. Officer's recommendation on page 62 of your agenda that council receives and notes the minutes of the special committees, section 86, which have been distributed to council under separate cover and for the Lee Midland Home of Bottles meetings on the 25th of June and the 9th of July 2020.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Are there any questions to Mr. Thomas on this matter? No. I have an officer's recommendation that council receives and notes the minutes of the special committees, section 86, which has been distributed to councillors under separate cover, being the Lee Midland Home of Bottles, 25 June 2020, and the Lee Midland Home of Bottles, 9 July 2020. Do I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by, please. Do I have a mover? Councillor Henderson. And could I have a seconder is Councillor Newitt. Councillor Henderson, do you wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Newitt? No. Any councillors wish to debate or discuss this matter? No. I will therefore put the motion moved by Councillor Henderson, seconded by Councillor Newitt. All in favour, please raise your hand. There being, Councillor Henderson, there being 7 votes in favour and no votes against, I declare it carried. Item 13, active and engaged communities. And may I compliment, first of all, the administration management for the way the agenda is now set out. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much. 13 is active and engaged communities. 13.1, applications received for the Lionville Community Planning Charter Group. And I'd like to introduce Mr. Thomas to introduce the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you very much for that compliment to the staff for preparing the agenda. This report before you tonight brings for consideration endorsement of a number of community members to the Lionville Community Planning Charter Group. Council will remember in middle of 2019, we undertook a review of community planning across our organisation, which resulted in a number of recommendations being presented to Council. As part of that, we're re-energising the process of community planning and implementing community charter groups to assist in that community planning process. The Lionville Community Plan and the creation of the charter group is the first of that process. We've been out to the community and done an expressions of interest, a public expressions of interest, and held a number of sessions where we've spoken about the process for the community charters and what we hope it to achieve. 5 applications were received and have been considered and being endorsed for tonight. A 6th application was late and therefore has not been considered by officers. It's important to note, though, that just for that individual, but for the entire community, there will be time and opportunity through the entire process to get involved in the community planning. And really, the community charter group, once endorsed, will help bring the community together in the development of the new community plan for the Lionville area. Once endorsed, community charter group members will undertake some training with our community development officer and undertake the development of the community plan through 2021. The qualifications and skills of the proposed members are outlined in the paper, but on page 65 of your agenda is the officer's recommendation that Council endorse the appointment of the following community members to the Lionville Community Planning Charter Group, those being Vicky Jackson, Shelley Bowen, Greg Jones, Jackie Airy and Jordan Costa. Councillors.
Thank you. Do I have any questions of Mr. Thomas? Councillor Redwood.
I don't have any questions. I'd be happy to move the officer's recommendation.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Redwood and seconded, please. Councillor Cottrell. Councillor Redwood, do you wish to speak on this motion?
I think it's great to see the community planning cranking up again. And this proposal for Lionville, I think will serve Lionville very well from the people that I know that are recommended here, and probably you do as well. So very happy to support the recommendation.
And Councillor Cottrell, do you wish to speak?
Only to endorse Councillor Redwood's comments and trust that the learnings that were made through this process will help as we move into the future community plan.
Thank you. Well, I'll step outside for a minute. Not step outside. I just want to say I'm so pleased that this motion is on the table, as Lineville is in my ward. But I will now move the motion presented. Now move the motion moved by Councillor Redwood, seconded by Councillor Cottrell. All in favour, please raise your hand. There being 7 for, no objections, no against, I therefore declare it carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. 13.2, community grants 2020 to 2021, round 1. Mr. Bradley Thomas, Director, Corporate and Community Services, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I bring the community grants round 1 to councillors in the community tonight. Community grants are well respected and received across our shire, and this year we're undertaking the community program once again. We've opened them up in a quarterly process, and this brings together round 1. 8 applications were received during round 1. Officers and an independent panel have assessed those applications. We're recommending 4 for full funding. 1 is recommended for conditional full funding, as it's subject to receiving some other grant incomes from other bodies. And 2 applications were assessed as ineligible and 1 application was withdrawn. It's important to note that officers will continue to work with those applicants that were unsuccessful and work through some of the issues that was part of the application process and encourage them to consider applications in future rounds. Rounds 2 to 4 will also open up for the community. There's a fair bit of detail in the report as to what the grants are for. But on page 70 and 71 of your agenda is an officer's recommendation that council awards funding for the 2021 Community Grants Program to the following applicants, those being Anglicare Victoria, Ballarat, Creswick Smeaton RSL Club Sub-Branch, Dalesford and Hepburn United Soccer Club, Trentham Quarry Street Reserve Committee of Management and St John Creswick Emergency Relief.
Any questions to Mr. Thomas on this matter? No questions, and I have the officer's recommendation, and I now would like a mover and seconder, please, for a motion. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor May moved. Councillor, second, please. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Henderson. Councillor May, do you wish to speak?
Not really, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Henderson, do you wish to speak?
Yes, I do, Madam Mayor, and I think it's, once again, these small things mean a great deal to our community, and we think of, you know, a couple of $1,000 or $2,500 is perhaps small to us, but some of these places to be able to get that sort of funding makes the difference between whether they do something or they do nothing. And you know, the ones that are providing the food aid, and it's been ongoing, and particularly I know in Dalesford, Clunes, Creswick, Trentham, at the moment people are doing it pretty tough, and some of these grants might go a long way to giving people some knowledge, at least, that we do care as a council. We care about the people out there who are most in need, and I commend those people who are volunteers, who are handing out the food and doing these things, and people like the RSL, they've got a community as well, and they're able to get on and do the work that we all respect so much. It's easy to forget the sacrifices, so I think these things are very, very good, and that's one of the better things that the council's able to do, get involved with our communities and help them along a bit, just give them a little bit of a leg up. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson, for those words. Do I have any other speakers against the motion, or any other speakers for the motion as well wish to contribute? No, there's been no other councillors wishing to speak. I will therefore put the motion as per the recommendation, moved by Councillor May and seconded by Councillor Henderson. All in favour, please raise your hand. There being 7 votes in favour and none against, I declare it carried. Now move to 13.3, which is minutes of advisory committees, Director, Community and Corporate Services. Mr. Thomas to introduce the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Administrative report, page 76 is the officer's recommendation that council receives and notes the minutes of the following advisory committees which have been issued to councillors under separate cover, and that being the Reconciliation Action Plan Advisory Committee for the 19th of May 2020. Councillors.
Any questions to Mr. Thomas on this matter? None. Okay, I have an officer's recommendation that council receives and notes the minutes of the following advisory committees which have been issued to councillors under separate cover. Reconciliation Action Plan Advisory Committee, 19 May 2020. I'm now in search of a motion. Moved. Councillor Redwood and seconded, please. And Councillor Henderson. Councillor Redwood, do you wish to speak?
No, no.
Is that a no?
That's a no.
That's a no. Sorry, I couldn't hear. And seconded, please. The seconder, Councillor Henderson, do you wish to speak?
Thank you.
No. Any councillors wish to speak for or against this motion? Nope. I will therefore put the recommendation. All in favour, please raise your hand. With 7 votes in favour and none against, I declare it carried. Thank you very much. I now move to section 14 of the agenda, which is high performing organisation. I go to 14.1, which is customer request update, and Mr. Thomas to present the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A regular monthly report where we provide council an update on the customer requests, standard information included. I will note that obviously during the last few months, COVID is having an impact on the organisation. Officers are working in different environments and responding to customer requests in a different way, but still encouraging community members to submit customer requests, and we're able to process them. You can just see some slight movements in some of the averages and times to respond and the type of requests that we're getting to. Management continues to monitor that and ensure that officers are able to respond to customer requests as quickly as possible. On page 78 of your agenda is the officer's recommendation that council notes the update on customer requests for June 2020.
Any questions to Mr. Thomas on this matter, please? No, I have an officer's recommendation. I'm in search of motion. Could I have a mover, please? Moved, councillors, please. Moved, Councillor May. Seconded, please. Councillor Newitt. Councillor May, do you wish to speak on this motion? No. Councillor Newitt?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Do any councillors wish to speak on this matter? No. I will put the motion. All in favour of the motion, moved by Councillor May, seconded by Councillor Newitt. Very fast off the trigger tonight. 7 votes in favour, none against. I declare it carried. Thank you very much. 14.2, Development and Community Safety Report. Ms. Bronwyn Southey will introduce the report. Yeah.
Good evening, councillors. Through you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to update council on the activities of building, environmental health, community safety and planning units of council. The report details progress statistics on the annual activity of the Development and Community Safety Team for information purposes. Like Mr. Thomas just raised, there have been a couple of fluctuations due to varying commitments from my team and allocations during the pandemic response for COVID. But as you will see, it's predominantly relatively self-explanatory in a monthly update. So for the officer's recommendation, we've just got that council receives and notes the Development and Community Safety Report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Southey. Now, do any councillors have any questions from Ms. Southey? Councillor Henderson.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. I notice on page 85, the local laws activity, and I preface that by knowing that our staff are doing lots of other things during this time. However, we've got Cats Impounded, which is obviously a bit of a project, but then we come down to Dog Attacks 1. declarations of menacing dogs, 0. So when a dog attacks somebody and we are able to identify that dog, why don't we declare that dog a menacing dog under the Act?
Ms Southey.
Through you, Madam Mayor. It's depending on the situation, councillor. So when there's quite an extensive process that we need to undertake to actually be able to determine a dog as menacing or declare as dangerous. So depending on the situation, depends on whether we actually end up declaring it. And yes, and that varies. So I'm happy to provide you further comment if you want specificities in relation to this one. But yeah, otherwise, as I sort of said, it varies.
Mr Lucas, would you like to contribute?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to add to what Ms Southey has reported, is that I am aware that there are a number of declarations being considered currently from past attacks. So whilst there might not be any identified specifically in this month's report, I know that there are a number that are under consideration.
Thank you. Can I just ask a question, if it's appropriate, to either Ms Southey or Mr Lucas? Is there a trend of increasing attacks, or is this a stable figure?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I don't have the stats to be able to talk to you around current trends, but just in the day-to-day dealings with different things, it feels like there are an increased level of dog attacks just from day-to-day dealings, but I can't talk to you with any authority based on statistics currently. We can prepare some information for councillors on that so that you've got an understanding as to what the statistics have been sort of over year on year, to give you a bit of context around that. But certainly with the officers' response to attacks, it feels like they're increasing in number.
And through you, Madam Mayor, in addition to Mr Lucas, what we have noticed is people being homebound has definitely made a difference in relation to nuisance complaints, animals being out and so on. I don't know, I don't, as we've sort of said, have a lot of data in relation to this link, but there's definitely more of a familiarity there with animals getting out, and yeah, the likelihood, I can't tie it to attacks, but definitely there has been a lot more activity during this time and reports.
Okay, thank you very much. Do other councillors have any questions on this matter? No, I have the officer's recommendation and I'm in search of a motion. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor wish to move? Councillor Redwood, and second, please, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Redwood, do you wish to speak?
Yes, I want to take this opportunity to commend the staff that have been doing such an extra amount of work in relation to the pandemic. We know that they've been working unusual hours and long hours and dealing with stuff that they haven't had to deal with before. And so I think we want to express our appreciation for that at this time. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you, Councillor Redwood. And I'll also add to that as well. Councillor Henderson, do you wish to speak?
Yes, I do, Madam Mayor, and I do know the hard work that our officers are putting in across the board. I also know that sometimes when officers are engaged otherwise, people tend to defer to councillors. And so I guess that we hear more about these recalcitrant animals, and one only has to take a look at Facebook to see, oh gee, this goat's out again, this dog's out again, there's 3 sheep loose on McDonald's Road, and there's a dog been wandering around in Creswick for months, and we're going to try and catch him, and all of these things, and perhaps the community doesn't fully understand that our officers are engaged in other ways, but there's this aspect of safety as well, and people do need to feel safe in their community, and whether we have to take some steps, and I guess I defer to Mr. Lucas, to gather, and Ms. Southey to gather some of that information. And I do know some of these reports are a bit misleading because I do know that some of these things are subject to perhaps the legal action, and you can't necessarily put them in court. So I do understand that, but equally I do understand the importance, even during a pandemic, of the community feeling safe. So I commend the report, but I'd like to add those remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Well put, Councillor Henderson. Do other councillors wish to speak on this matter? On this item? No? Okay, well then I will put the motion as per the officer's recommendation and moved by Councillor Redwood and seconded by Councillor Henderson. All in favour, please raise your hand. Councillor Cottrell, are you in favour or abstaining? Or there have been 7 votes in favour and none against. I declare it carried. Thank you very much. I now move 14 to 14.3, which is the draft annual plan for 2020-2021, and Director Community and Corporate Services, Mr. Thomas, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present to Council the draft annual plan for 2021 for consideration of adoption. As the officers in the organisation, I'm very proud of the development of the annual plan. The Council plan sets out the aspirations of the Council and the strategies and objectives to achieve Council's vision over a 4-year period, and the annual plan picks up and identifies how we will try and achieve that over the next 12 months. Council previously hasn't operated with an annual plan process. It's a new process that we put into place for this financial year, and I believe it's been really well received by councillors in the community. The annual plan details to the organisation, councillors and community how we will monitor progress towards those actions and ultimately report on those. It contains a number of key priority projects from across the organisation, a number of capital works, operationals and special projects. It's not designed to be all projects or all programs. Council has over 100 services in developing over 100 capital works projects, and there's other reporting mechanisms for us to report on that. The annual plan is designed as a snapshot of some of those key projects. And some of those and how varied the projects are range from the refurbishment of the Creswick Fountain to the continuation and construction and rehabilitation works at the Clunes Town Hall, development of a community engagement policy during the next 6 months, detailed design to be finalised for the Glenline Rec Reserve Pavilion, construction of the Hepburn Rec Reserve Pavilion, creation of a buy local campaign, councillor elections, development of implementation of the Local Government Act, and the creation of a customer service at Trentham. So you can see from just a short list, and that's probably only a tenth of the projects that are included in the annual plan. It's varied across the Shire, there's small and large projects. It's important to note that officers will prepare a quarterly report of the annual plan and present this to council and the communities that'll detail the progress during the year of these projects. The attachment to the agenda is the annual plan in the draft format, and there's an officer's recommendation on page 90 being that council adopt the 2021 annual plan. Thanks, councillors.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Are there any questions for Mr. Thomas from councillors? Councillor Robson.
Thank you. A question about the colours that you've used to highlight the projects on the annual plan. I noticed there's sort of yellow and green. Is it a traffic light system, or I noticed there's no red? So I just wanted to understand a little bit about the colouring.
Thank you, councillor. I think you're referring to the attachment that'll come up into the next item, 14.4, and I'm happy to chat about that. This one's referring to the new plan for 2021. So it's the nice glossy document as attachment 14.3.1.
Other questions to Mr. Thomas? No, okay. I have the officer's recommendation and I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a move and moves Councillor Robson and second Councillor Cottrell? Councillor Robson, would you like to speak?
Yes, I think this is a really important piece of work, and I do commend everybody involved because it's going to allow us to communicate clearer and to better monitor what's going on with the council project. So I really do thank you.
Yeah, concur with that. Councillor Cottrell.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, this is a super piece of work. Excellent to get this out into the community, and as an ongoing annual report that will come out, this will keep the community informed, easy to follow, and they'll be able to see quite clearly the major issues, the major projects that we've got on our plate for the coming year.
Thank you, Councillor Cottrell. Do other councillors wish to speak on this matter? No. Okay, I will now move the recommendation, moved by Councillor Robson, seconded Councillor Cottrell. All in favour, please raise your hand. There being 7 votes in favour and none against, I declare it carried. Thank you. 14.4, which is the annual plan 2019 to 2020 projects update. Mr. Thomas, would you like to introduce the report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And as we looked forward in the previous item to 2021, we continue to have an eye to our bare vision camera and report on our progress during 1920. The attached report provides the list of projects that were included in the annual plan for 1920 and a progress comment for how we've tracked during the year and finished up at the 30th of June. As I noted previously, this is the first time that Council has put into place an annual plan. And once again, it was based on a number of projects, not all programs that are happening across the organisation. In fact, the Council annual plan of 1920 included 39 projects. They are detailed in the attachment 14.4.1. Councillor Robson was correct. We've introduced as helping a reporting for the community a bit of a traffic light situation. We've detailed in green or highlighted in green those projects that we've been able to fully complete within the year, and in yellow those ones that are still ongoing. There is a number of those projects that are ultimately ongoing. That's for a range of reasons in terms of obviously the impacts with the last few months with COVID and changing of resources, but also in relation to some of these projects might have been grant funded and the application process and whether we were successful coming through later in the year. And there's a whole range of items that can sometimes delay projects. And I think part of this reporting is really providing that in an open and transparent manner to the community. So operated in that sort of green and orange traffic light scheme. Don't have any in red. Red would sort of indicate we've completely disengaged from that project and something that we're not continuing. So important to note those yellow ones, those 16 projects that are not fully complete, and it's important to note a lot of them actually a long way in that completion and may have even been completed now into July and August. We will carry them over into that quarterly reporting for 2021. So councillors have just adopted the new annual plan for 2021. Those 16 projects that we hadn't completed at June, we'll add to the bottom of that and we will report to councillors in the community on the progress of those items until they are complete. So there's councillors' recommendation on page 93 that council notes the annual plan 2019-2020, the June 2020 project updates.
Now, councillor, you have a question,
Madam Mayor. For the elderly and visually impaired like myself, is it possible to find some way of printing this document so that it's actually possible to read it?
We can certainly do that, Councillor Redwood, and we'll try and make it as easy to find on our website and other locations and make the text a little bit bigger for all to read.
Thank you.
Thank you. And other questions to Mr. Thomas? Don't see any hands raised. Okay, I have an officer's recommendation. Could I have a mover, please, for this motion? Councillor Redwood, and a seconder, please. Councillor Cottrell. Councillor Redwood, do you wish to speak?
Yeah. Madam Mayor, despite the microscopic font, I think that this is a very good document and it is very sound and very transparent. And all these things are great, I think, for the council. And one of the things that is a peculiarity of local government is that it always commits to a pile more stuff than it can actually achieve. It has to do with the annual cycle of how the budget works. But nevertheless, a great deal has been achieved and will be achieved, and it's great to see this document lining up with the council plan.
Thank you, Councillor Redwood. Councillor Cottrell, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, this reporting package that we're dealing with is becoming quite a formidable package to put out into the community. The 2021 plan that we've just dealt with, these quarterly updates become beautiful inserts that the community can put into that document, and they'll be able to track quite easily how council is working, and as Councillor Redwood suggested, they'll be able to follow more closely the construct of the budget and what we're doing as a council. So very, very good initiatives.
Thank you, Councillor Cottrell. Any other speakers wish to speak for or against the motion? I don't see any hands raised, so I will therefore put the motion moved by Councillor Redwood, seconded by Councillor Cottrell. All in favour, please raise your hand. 7 votes for, no against, carried. Thank you very much, councillors. 14.5, 2019-20 project reporting, June 20, Director of Community Corporate Services. Mr. Thomas, would you like to introduce the report, please?
Thank you. And the purpose of this report is to present to council and the community a report on the financial performance and position for the 2019-20 financial year. For the year ended 30th of June for capital and operating projects. And it gives me great pleasure to be able to bring this report to council. This report is adding to that package of reporting on a quarterly basis. Council, as I've mentioned, undertakes a number of programs and projects across our entire organisation. And we've been really working behind the scenes over the last 12 months to bring together a report into a format that we can provide to councillors and the community to identify that progress at the project level. It's taken a little bit of work behind the scenes, and it's the type of report that we want to continue to evolve with and improve. We've been undertaking this reporting on a quarterly basis currently and presenting that to councillors in a briefing session, but we've now got to the position that we're comfortable with this report coming to the community. As I said, it's a little bit of a work in progress, but we really think it's a great opportunity for the community to see where the progress of all of those projects are up to. It's part of our desire to increase our openness, our transparency and our accountability to the community. So going forward, we will provide this report to the community on a quarterly basis and through this reporting mechanism through a council meeting. It will obviously give the community great insight to the progress on those reports. The report sets out those projects for the 19-20 year, the budgets, the actuals for that time and a progress comment provided. I suppose that's the snapshot of what this report's trying to achieve. I'll give a little bit of insight to some of the numbers that are included in there for this year. But for the year ended 30th of June, council delivered $9.43 million worth of capital works, and that is a 19% increase from the average of the previous 2 years. So over the last 12 months, council have basically been able to deliver 20% more capital works than what we've been able to over the last 2 years, we've been working on our project management frameworks and our delivery with our community. We still have a way to go, but there's a number of carry forward projects and we've identified that in the report. It's important to note the carry forward projects are a little bit distorted by a number of multi-year projects, but the funding's available for those projects and we continue to carry that funding forward and we'll deliver on those. Council's capital works project is extremely ambitious. For a small rural council, we identified 136 projects that council has on the books for the 19-20 year. Pleasing to say 51 of those projects were completed, and of those 51 projects we were able to deliver to the community at 92% of our budget, basically meaning that for the projects that we were able to complete during the year, we were able to do these 8% under budget. The report goes into a fair bit of detail with the attachment, provides that progress summary and snapshot of all the projects, and ultimately officers will continue to work on those projects, carry forwards and continue to report. And as I noted, we'll make this part of our regular quarterly reporting to councillors in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Any questions to Mr. Thomas on this matter? No, I have an officer's recommendation that council notes both the operating projects report and capital works project report as at 30 June 2020 and the progress of projects. Can I have a mover, please? Mover, Councillor Robson, and a seconder, please, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Robson, do you wish to speak?
Again, I think this is a really great initiative. It really is showing that our council is maturing as an organisation and our ability to actually share what's going on. And so people can track the project is a really great initiative. So again, commend the council officers. Thank you.
Councillor Henderson, do you wish to speak?
Yes, Madam Mayor, it's refreshing to see that most of our projects are coming in on or under budget. There will be little blowouts from time to time and due to procurement and all other sorts of things, but from moving from a position, and I keep repeating it, if you've been on council as long as I have, you see every project goes over, and now we're getting more efficient with our procurement, with our estimating of what a project's really going to cost. And often the community get very disappointed when they see their project has been underfunded and therefore can't be done. And I think that with the injection of some people into that project management, it enables us to go out and source the contractors, source the workforce. And of course, like I said, you know, on top of all that, you get $900,000 and odd of COVID stimulus, and you've got to deal with that because you can't just put that on the bottom of the pile and do it later, because it's given to you to stimulate the economy now. So that moves other things back a bit. So it's really pleasing to see, even at this late stage in our term, to be able to get a report like this to see that we're going on track. And it's a credit to the staff that are doing that right throughout the organisation. It's not just the people who dig the holes or get it. It's all the work that goes to getting the project up and getting the community consultation done and seeing that it's properly procured. It's a whole process. It's not just like someone going out and building a house. We've got to work with the Local Government Act and all those sorts of things. And so it's good to see that. It's good to see that we're making progress on it.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Do other councillors wish to speak on this matter? Councillor Redwood.
Madam Mayor, if you'll put up with me for a minute. When I was first elected to Hepburn Shire Council nearly 8 years ago, the first thing we saw was a mid-year budget review where it's the strangest report I'd ever seen. The council was absolutely awash with money, but the actual deliverable figures were about a quarter of the money available. And it was basically something that you looked at and you saw, here's an organisation that does not have any middle management. And the picture today is so radically different. It's like chalk and cheese, and it's essentially what Councillor Henderson's just been saying, that it's an organisation where there's competence at all levels through the organisation, and that's a great thing to see, and will carry the organisation forward very well.
Thank you, Councillor Redwood. Any other speakers for or against the motion, please? No, okay, I will put the officer's recommendation moved by Councillor Robson, seconded by Councillor Henderson. The council notes both the operating projects report and capital works project report as at 30 June 2020 and the progress of projects. All in favour, please raise your hand. There being 7 votes in favour and none against, I declare it carried. Thank you very much. Last item, councillors. 14.6, records of Assembly of Councillors. Mr. Thomas, would you like to introduce the report?
Nice, quick administrative one to finish off the evening's proceedings, Madam Mayor. Record of our Assembly of Councillors, as detailed in the report, officer's recommendation, page 101 of your agenda, that council receives and notes the record of assemblies of councillors.
Any questions to Mr. Thomas? No. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Move Councillor Redwood, seconded Councillor Henderson. Councillor Redwood, would you like to speak to this motion? No, Councillor Henderson.
Not I, Madam Mayor.
No? Okay. Any councillors wish to speak on this motion? I all want to go home. Okay. I therefore will now move the motion moved by Councillor Redwood, seconded by Councillor Henderson. All in favour, please raise your hands. There being 7 votes in favour and none against, I declare it carried. Thank you very much. And councillors, I now close the meeting. At the end of the agenda, I close the meeting at 8:41 p.m. Thank you for your presence and thank you to officers, and good evening to everybody.
You mind the kangaroos, Madam Mayor, on the way home?
Oh, there's lots about. Do you know that last week there was lots last week, our last meeting?